When I was younger, so much younger than today, I used to watch videos of the Beatles when they first arrived in the US in the 1960s, and all I could think to myself is how cool it must have been to see them when they first arrived, and all these teenage girls just screaming and singing at the top of their heads. And I thought to myself, this is never going to happen again, unless their moms join them. Am I comparing Taylor Swift to the Beatles? Yes, and Prince, and Queen, and Andy Warhol, and your favorite lyricist, and your favorite director, because Taylor Swift is the artist of our lifetime. But let's start with the Eras Tour, because it's a thing right now. And if you don't recognize that, you're living in some kind of a post-COVID cave. When I watched video of the Beatles when they first arrived in the US, I thought to myself, did they know that they were making music history? The irony, of course, is that it was mostly teen girls, and that they were screaming in response to these cute boys who were on stage, and they were picturing themselves as the objects of the affection of their love songs. Whereas Taylor Swift is singing songs from a woman's perspective, and the women who are singing along with her are singing along with her because it's from a woman's perspective. What's going on here? Because this tour has become bigger than Taylor herself. I've been thinking about this for some time now, and I've come to the conclusion that Taylor Swift concerts are in part about women and girls just being women and girls. Loud, loving, screaming, singing, friendship bracelets, dresses, lipstick, makeup, glitter. There's a lot of feminine energy going on at a Taylor Swift concert, and I'd venture that most guys would be more comfortable at a Victoria's Secret. And to be clear, they're not dressing up for guys because there aren't a lot of guys at a Taylor Swift concert. If anything, they're dressing up hoping that Taylor herself notices that they're dressing in honor of her. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that's all there is to being a woman. All you have to do is watch my previous video where I argue that Taylor Swift is the artist of our lifetime and possibly the best business person of our generation. But there's a lot of feminine energy going on at a Taylor Swift concert. And when you see stadiums full of moms and their daughters crying in celebration of the music and loving each other and just having fun, I can't help but think it's an opportunity for women and girls to just be women and girls in a safe place where there's not a bunch of guys kind of standing around gawking at them and just making them feel uncomfortable. It also doesn't hurt that a Taylor Swift concert is a singularly constructed piece of traveling art that lasts 3.5 hours, where Taylor sings, dances, plays piano, guitar, and even appears to swim. Wait a minute, did I mention water? Let's talk about Prince. Up until very recently, I considered one of the ultimate live concerts to be Prince performing at the Super Bowl. If you don't know the story behind it, look it up. At one point in time, producer Don Mishner calls up Prince and he says, hey, it's raining. And Prince says, yeah, it's raining. And Don says, are you okay? And Prince says,
can you make it rain harder?
I think it's indisputable that Prince played one of the most epic sets that he's ever played, playing 12 minutes of outstanding music in the rain. In Nashville, Taylor's concert was delayed for nearly 4 hours, mostly because of lightning. Then she invited her fans to come out of the shelter, and she started her concert at 10:15 at night. It started to rain again. So what did she do? She did what Prince did, and she played for 12 minutes. Oh, wait a second, and then 3 hours more than that. She ended her concert at 1:35 a.m. The artist of our lifetime. Let's talk about Queen and their performance at Live Aid, because they were so dynamic, so rehearsed, and they had such a tight set that when Freddie Mercury clapped his hands together and did this during Radio Gaga, tens of thousands of fans joined in. Man, that had to be cool. What kind of other artist is going to command an audience like that? Taylor's fans come to concerts dressed like her or random characters from her videos. A while back, one of Taylor's fans shouted during the song Delicate, 1, 2, 3, let's go, bitch. And now it's a thing that happens at every one of her concerts. And Taylor is cool with it. You want to talk about audience participation? Taylor has a song called Marjorie. It's a song about her grandmother. Taylor's fans just spontaneously on Mother's Day decided to hold up their cell phones with the lights lit in honor of her grandmother. But they went beyond that. Some of the fans held up pictures of Marjorie, and Taylor was so moved that she had trouble starting her next song. That kind of spontaneous fan participation, but all of the fans being on the same page, that's a reaction to Taylor. Let's talk about Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was known for putting on dynamic performances where he would adopt whatever the newest technology was. You know, those popcorn things where the performer would pop up and they'd kind of like appear on stage suddenly? That was something that Michael Jackson adopted after seeing another performer do it. Well, it turns out that Taylor is kind of like one-upped that. She came up with the idea of a rotating catwalk that would kind of elevate and rotate. The way that she elevates performances is that she creates the entire thing from beginning to end. She isn't one of those performers that finishes writing a song and then she's like, hey, someone make me a video and design the tour for me. No, when she's writing the song, she kind of already knows what the video is going to look like and how she's going to perform it on tour. How about Andy Warhol? You know Andy Warhol, the painter? Well, Andy Warhol was also known to be a colorist. If you don't know what a colorist is someone who just knows what kind of colors go together really well, or what kind of colors kind of repel each other. Well, it turns out that Taylor is not only a colorist, but early on, she started designing each album with a palette of colors that's so familiar that Taylor fans can look at someone's dress and go, oh, that's from the color palette of this album. That's from the color palette of Red, or that's from the color palette of Speak Now. Did you know that purple is the color of Speak Now? I did. And I knew that when their bracelets blinked purple 3 times, that was kind of a hint to the audience that Speak Now was about to be released. How crazy is that? Artist of our lifetime. Am I making my point yet? I took 2 semesters of art history, and when I was taking it, I thought to myself, did the people of Michelangelo's time know that he was a great artist at that time? Or were they kind of like making fun of him and saying, oh, so you paint pictures on the ceiling. That's just your one thing that you do. But can you do anything else, Michael? The point is that right now people are making fun of Taylor because they don't get that she's the artist of our generation. What's your favorite writer or your favorite lyricist? Think about 2 or 3 of your favorite quotes from that writer or lyricist. On the side here, I'm going to put a bunch of Taylor's best quotes. Compare those quotes to any writer that you know and tell me that she isn't going to leave an impact on future generations. Who's your favorite director? And to be clear, I'm not saying that Taylor is as good as Spielberg. I'm not saying she's as good as Scorsese. I'm saying that she's starting to work her way towards that. If you haven't seen the video All Too Well, you have no idea of how good of a director she is right now. And she's just starting out. She's 33 years old. Taylor has a vision. Any great artist is a visionary. And she's not just a visionary as far as a musician goes, as far as a director goes, as far as a writer goes, as far as a colorist goes. But the fact that she's combining all those things makes her, in my opinion, the artist of our generation. I also wanted to add a post note to this, because as I was writing this, I realized more and more people are watching the Eras Tour, and they're starting to kind of like make fun of her. It's that weird thing where someone becomes super popular, so there's a group of trolls who just want to cut them down. I mention this because I think it's about to get really nasty. There are people that want to kind of tear down our idols. And don't get me wrong, I don't want you to idolize anyone, even Taylor Swift, who I freely admit I've gone a little bit crazy over in this video. But I think it's a really weird thing that when we find an artist who's fantastic, instead of honoring the work that they're doing, especially if they're a half-decent person, that we want to tear them down. And as far as I can tell, she's a pretty decent person as well. So even if you don't agree with me, even if you don't believe she's the artist of our generation, why not just honor her for being a halfway decent person in the public eye? My name is John Abbott. If you agree with me, please tell me what you like about Taylor Swift. And if you don't, keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, do all the other things. Thanks.